Welcome back, y'all. And today we're looking at, hell, I don't know. Let's check the shelf. Let's see. Not that. Not that. Already did that. Still working on that. Oh, not you.
Weren't you working on a Turok video?
Yeah, but that video's not done yet. Wait, what's wrong with your voice?
Your shenanigans with the remote last video screwed everything up. Thankfully, the voice is the only thing that changed.
Oops. But hey, you're the one who underestimated the power of the remote.
You little prick. Where did you get that thing anyway?
Goodwill?
Flashback.
Let's see. All-powerful universal remote. Huh. Weird name. Must be foreign. Let's see. Broken. What's wrong with it? Oh, somebody put the batteries in backwards. Alright, make sure it works. Okay, I love this thing. But who says I should pay full price for a working remote? Right, so let's just put that back. Score!
End of flashback.
Of course you were rewarded for being a cheap bastard.
As I should.
Anyway, about the Turok video, are you finished or not?
Well, not.
Would you please clarify?
I'm almost through with it, but the ending is kind of, well, kicking my ass. Alright, here we go. Attempt number whatever. Let's get this done. Come on, let's go. And damn it! Let's go again. Crap! Oh, come on. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it! We're gonna make it! We're gonna make it! No! Fuck you! Whoever came up with this is an asshole!
So, we are delayed because you were terrible at playing games.
Oh, piss off, Nigel.
You first, jackass.
I'm about to turn you into a pair of boots.
You can try.
Uh-oh.
What's all the noise? You two again? For 2 solid weeks, I've been hearing nothing but cursing and carrying on from this side of the swamp. Y'all claim to be fully grown, but if you're gonna act like kids, I'll treat you like kids. No cursing for the rest of the video. Give me the remote. Kind of a weird remote. Oh, I'm keeping this. You two behave.
Well, that happened.
Yes, it did. What are we gonna do now?
You wanna watch some TV?
She took the remote.
No problem. I ordered a backup from Temu.
You really are cheap.
We still have the DVD remote in this Roku thing.
I'm caught up with the shows I've been streaming and don't want to watch a DVD.
Well, fine then. Let's go watch a movie then. What's playing?
Black Bag?
I already seen it twice.
Working Man?
I'll wait for it to go to streaming. Next.
Minecraft?
I never played the game. What's Disney got going on?
The Captain America movie is still playing in the theater down the road.
It's still playing? Nah. Once is enough for a rehash of Winter Soldier.
There's also Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Oh, they re-released the original back in the theaters? That's gutsy.
No, it's a live-action remake.
Are you kidding me? Disney is still doing that?
Disney are also remaking Lilo and Stitch.
Why? The remakes of the past few years have been more misses than hits. If you're not going to make any worthwhile changes, why remake it? Do they at least look decent?
One does.
Okay. This is pretty good. Stitch looks great. The girl playing Lilo's adorable, and the comedy's spot on. All right, what about the other one?
That's Snow White.
What, really? That's supposed to be Snow White. You're kidding me. She looks like Lord Farquaad. Look at that. Oh my god, that CG looks like crap. And why do the dwarfs look like nightmare fuel? How much did this movie cost?
You don't want to know.
Okay, now you gotta let me look. Holy crap, that's a lot of money. For that kind of money, they could have made a TV series based on a live-action remake, or hell, done a sequel series that come off of the original film and called it a day.
It would certainly be new ground Disney hasn't covered. To my knowledge, Snow White's story has never been continued. By Disney or any other studio that I can think of anyway.
Are you sure about that?
I'm fairly sure. Why are you looking through the shelf?
Give me a second. All right, where is it? Where is it? I know it's over here. Where is it? Well, what? That shouldn't be here. No. Ah, here it is. Happily ever after, y'all. Released in 1989 by Filmation, Happily Ever After is the loose sequel to the original story of Snow White instead of the 1937 Disney film. On paper, at least. In actual truth, it is kind of a sort of pseudo-sequel to that film, but not.
None of what you said made any sense.
Well, it's kind of tricky. Let me cover the story first. The story follows Snow White after the events of the Evil Queen's demise on her journey to try to rescue her prince, who was kidnapped by the brother of the Evil Queen, the shape-shifting warlock Lord Malice. This time she's aided by the Seven Dwarf Elves, the female cousins of the Seven Dwarfs, agents of Mother Nature, as they travel through the realm of doom, defeat Lord Malice, and save the prince.
That sounds oddly generic and unimaginative.
Yeah, sadly it is. Let's just take a bite out of it. The movie opens up with a recap of the original story, the voiceover provided by Dom DeLuise, a staple of 80s voiceovers, Burt Reynolds movies, and comedy in general.
Wait till you hear this. This guy is drowning, you know. He's having a very hard time in the ocean. So a boat comes by and says, "Are you all right?" The guy says, "It's okay. I have faith in God. Move on." The boat goes away. Just then a helicopter comes by and they all come down and they look at him and they say, "Are you all right? Do you need any help?" The man looks at them and says, "It's okay. I have faith in God. Move on." The man drowns. He goes up to heaven and he looks at God and says, "I prayed and prayed. What happened?" God says, "I sent a boat and a helicopter."
Ah, memories.
We get it. You're old. Would you please move on?
Anyway, after the recap, we get the title sequence and whoa! I wasn't expecting a wyvern in the Snow White movie, but hey, points for a good start. After circling around the castle, we learn this is the Queen's castle and her staff aren't really broken up about her kicking the bucket. During the party, we get introduced to the comedy relief Scowl and Batso, voiced by Edward Asner and Frank Welker.
I know Edward Asner. I thought he was funny in Animal. But who is Frank Welker?
Oh, Frank Welker? Well, he was the voice of Soundwave from both versions of Transformers, the Michael Bay and the original series. He's also the voice of Fred Jones from Scooby-Doo, Dr. Claw and Inspector Gadget, and about 100 other one-off gigs, like the Cave of Wonders and Aladdin, Shao Kahn from the first Mortal Kombat, Devil and Spawn, blah blah blah, the list goes on.
It's nice to finally put a face with a voice. Which version of Scooby-Doo?
Oh, pretty much all of them, including the parodies from Family Guy and Robot Chicken. The only ones he didn't voice were in Velma and A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. In A Pup Named Scooby-Doo is an actual kid voicing Fred, and in Velma he was voicing Fred's dad in that one.
Wow, that's dedication to character.
Yeah, he's also been the voice of Scooby-Doo since 2002. Moving on, the celebration is cut short by an unhappy guest. Enter Lord Malice, the Queen's brother, demanding to know where his sister is and not getting a straight answer.
Where is she? She went out for a walk. Right, Batso?
Scowl, you know we're not supposed to tell fibs.
She did go out for a walk.
Yeah, but you didn't say when.
He consults the looking glass, or the magic mirror, voiced by Dom DeLuise. DeLuise speaking exclusively in rhyme.
When water flows as though it's bled, and sky does change from blue to red, it's a sign to all, the Queen is dead. I scared myself.
After Malice receives his bad news, he declares vengeance on Snow White instead of the Seven Dwarfs, the guys who actually pursued the Queen to her death. But hey, I guess blaming Snow White for everything runs in the family.
From this day forward, I shall rule this castle and all that is in it.
And yes, that is Malcolm McDowell playing the bad guy.
Did you expect anything different?
Well, no. I kind of just wanted to see him play a good guy for once instead of the same old generic bad guy. I mean, he does a really good job at being the bad guy, but just something different would be nice.
He portrayed Dr. Loomis in the Rob Zombie Halloween remake.
Yeah.
Blackness. The absence of light. These are the eyes of a psychopath.
Never mind. I changed my opinion. Malice decides to take over the domain and starts shifting things around into the land of doom.
Did you say the realm of doom?
Alright, slow your roll, dude. This doom is just a no man's land covered in fog. But the animation of the world changing around looks interesting. Ah, jeez, dude, back up. And what's with the face? Ah, so he was the wyvern from the beginning. Okay, kind of a neat trick. Malice peels out of a castle through a window instead of, a door. I guess using a door isn't evil enough. While he's off to pursue Snow White, we move on to the musical section of the movie. Scal attempting a musical section anyway.
Listen, kid, I think you should know bad like me is the way to go. Being nice is just for saps. Being good is a handicap.
I wouldn't complain about the song, but it's only 59 seconds. By the time I got good and going, it's already over. And I kind of dig it. I think it's supposed to be a tribute to Michael Jackson. It's called Bad in reference to one of Michael's songs, and you also got the moonwalk. But the real bad thing is, Edward Asner, he ain't no minstrel. Okay, after the earache, we finally catch up with Snow White and her prince on their way to invite the seven dwarfs to their wedding.
I can't wait to see them again.
Me neither. If it weren't for the seven dwarfs, I never would have found you.
Do you think it's silly to ride all this way just to invite them to the wedding?
I'm going to go ahead and bring this up since we're here. In the first half of the movie, there's static in the dialogue. Strange considering the cast is chock full of experienced voice actors, plus you got Irene Cara playing Snow White, a successful singer and songwriter. So I doubt this was an issue with the cast, but instead it's more likely the crew was working with equipment that wasn't quite up to snuff. It clears up as the movie goes on, but it's very noticeable in the first half. While Snow White is picking flowers to give to the dwarves, Malice sees the opportunity and swoops in and carries Snow White off with the prince in hot pursuit. And whoa! That was a jump, dude! What are you feeding that horse? The prince takes a lucky shot with the crossbow, forcing Malice to drop Snow White, but Malice ain't giving up that easy. But due to sheer incompetence, Scal trying to get on Malice's good side, only to end up on his worst side. Giving Snow White an opening to flee into the forest out of reach. But Malice, he's pretty petty. He decides to settle for a consolation prize by beating and zapping the tar out of the prince, banishing him to the end of the movie. Or does he?
And I have a very special fate in store for you.
Back with Snow White, she's running through the forest, and you see there was an attempt to emulate the forest nightmare section of the original 1932 classic. But there is no comparison. Walt had a special way of traumatizing children. Finally makes it to a familiar spot in the forest, the mine and cottage of the seven dwarfs, collapsing from exhaustion just as she reaches their doorstep.
I can't go on.
She wakes up looking for the seven dwarfs to find the new residents instead.
Oh. Oh my. Goodness.
The Dwarf Elves, ladies and germs, the movie stand-in for the seven dwarfs.
We're their cousins, the seven dwarf elves. They gave us their cottage.
Sorry. Cousins. There's actually a good reason for the switch out. The movie originally began in production in the late 80s under the title Snow White and the Land of Doom, but due to financial hiccups, Filmation was purchased by L'Oreal. Yeah, that L'Oreal. The cosmetics company did not want any smoke from Disney and forced the name change to Happily Ever After instead. Ironically, this did not stop Disney from being Disney, and the company filed a cease and desist letter over copyright infringement. Even though Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a Brothers Grimm fairy tale, well in the public domain, Disney countered this with the Seven Dwarfs themselves, Walt Disney's intellectual property. So Filmation could not use any artwork that resembled the dwarfs at all or use their names, since the names themselves of the Seven Dwarfs were invention of Walt Disney and were not in the original book. By the time it was over with, there was so much red tape, it almost sunk production. Thankfully, Filmation found a way around this and decided to do their own thing instead of Foreman, Insomniac, Uppers, Karen, Horny, Kleenex, and Crackhead, we get the 7 dwarf elves, magical equivalents with their own powers, acting as arms of Mother Nature. The first one up is Thunderella, complete with an introduction and everything.
There is something wrong. Thunder scares me.
Now, up front, I'm not against musicals at all. One of my favorite films of all time is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. One of the best musicals, if not the best musical Disney ever made. You can say a lot with a musical segment, but this just tells me that you're stalling for time. You do not need 2 minutes and 21 seconds to tell the audience that Thunderella sucks at her job. You can do that in half the time. But yet, this one has to go on that long.
If the sun can keep shining bright.
Do I have to sit through all this?
Yes, you do.
Come on, man.
One eternity later.
Finally, it's over. Oh, I have a headache.
You know, if I had a head like yours and it didn't hurt, I would go see a doctor.
Let's move on to the rest of the Dwarf Elves, shall we? Next up, we have Muddy, played by Carol Channing, and Sunburn, played by Sally Kellerman.
I'm Muddy. I'm in charge of the Earth itself, while Sunburn is merely in charge of the sunlight.
Merely?
This bit coming up kind of reminds me of a Pokemon match in ways. I mean, you put the music over top of it and tell me you don't see the same thing. Next, we have Blossom, played by Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Didn't she assault someone?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Was it her or sister? No, it was her. She slapped a cop for giving her a ticket.
Oh, the more you know, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, next up we have Marina. You know, like the place where you store boats and stuff. Wordplay. Played by Linda Gary. Followed up by Critterina, also played by Linda Gary.
I'm Critterina. I take care of all the animals in the forest.
What the what? What were you going for, Linda? Critterina sounds like she smokes 10 packs of Newports a day. What was the motivation here? I mean, you made Marina sound halfway decent.
Hello there. I'm in charge of all the lakes and rivers.
And you're well known for your voice acting roles in He-Man, Masters of the Universe, and She-Ra. What was your inspiration here? It's funny, but lay off the Newports, Critterina. Next is Moonbeam, played by Tracy Ullman, who also plays Thunderella. If you're wondering why 2 voice actors doubled up on characters, it's because Moonbeam and Marina only get 2 lines of dialogue each in the entire film. Snow White regales her tale to the gang, and their answer is, let's go cry to Mama. They're on their way to Mother Nature anyway, since Thunderella is kind of in trouble for not being able to control her powers. Back at the castle, Malice is using the looking glass to search for Snow White.
Snow White? Show me where they're headed.
Sure, Duke. Can you, back up, though? After getting the destination, Malice heads off to intercept. This time, Scowl and Batso staying well out of the way.
Battle?
Now what are we gonna do?
Just what you'd expect from 2 guys as bad as us.
Yeah? What's that?
We're gonna
Hide.
The group make their way toward Rainbow Falls, with Thunderella pulling up the rear. Not much of a hurry to get yelled at by Mother Nature. Snow White stops to reassure her everything will be fine, all the while a shadowy figure skulks in the background. After a bit of comedy, the group enter Mother Nature's garden, and let's see, who plays the old gal? Phyllis Diller. Okay, that's not bad, I guess. Well, she doesn't... Is that music I hear? Wait, Phyllis Diller singing? No.
Take
No.
a little sunshine, then do it.
No!
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Is it over?
It's kind of hard to tell, really. It's not really singing as much Ms. Diller repeating the same chorus.
Mother Nature has so many things to do.
That's Mother Nature? Shh. Oh, my.
Madam doesn't like to be disturbed when she's working.
For fans of old TV like me, that is Jonathan Harris from Lost in Space fame. The group heckle and try to guess what what Mother Nature is trying to create here, like a catfish, a horsefly, bullfrog, and a dormouse. It's a nice little side game, but the segment ends and the scolding begins. Mother Nature first begins chewing out Thunderella, only to move on to the rest of the gang for misusing their powers over petty squabbles. Her decree, she's going to strip them all of their powers, deeming them all unworthy of this responsibility.
Help me when I can't be there to create harmony. Oh. So you see, that's why we cannot tolerate mistakes in this line of work.
To be fair though, the rest were doing their jobs and Thunderella is trying to get better through practice and she's younger, so it's going to take time. Muddy and Sunburn are the only ones guilty of actually misusing their powers. And Snow White even sees this hypocrisy and calls it out.
About all the mistakes you make.
I beg your pardon.
Begging your pardon. But even you make mistakes.
Though the debate is cut short by Malice, prompting Mother Nature to take her airspace back and flex her earthbending powers. Malice, living up to his name, decides to drop a little bait for Snow White, giving the hint that the prince is at his castle in the land of doom. Snow White, determined to get her prince back, decides to take the bait regardless of everybody's objections. So as an extra precaution, Mother Nature sends the dwarf elves along as extra protection to help her on her journey, under the condition that they prove worthy of their powers. And to be honest, this is kind of a consolation prize, because Mother Nature admits that she has no power in the land of doom, so she can't help in any form whatsoever.
Wouldn't that mean, by extension, everyone else would have no powers either?
Maybe. Making it to the border of the land of doom in Ruby Falls, the gang comes across a cave that's a little too dark, so they need a little light.
They don't call me Sunburn for nothing.
Huh, I figure it's because it looks like you went to Arizona with no sunblock. Traveling through the cave, the group is shadowed by that figure we saw earlier in the forest, a misshapen man determined to stop Snow White from advancing into Mouse's domain. Something Muddy takes offense to, apparently.
Get that Shadow Man!
Sunburn makes a blunder, causing the cave-in, trapping our Shadow Man. Snow White checking to see if he's okay, being the ever-forgiving maiden she always is. However, the earlier cave-in triggered a mudslide, washing everybody outside before any information be gotten from the Shadow Man. Doesn't this fall under Muddy's jurisdiction? Can't she stop that mudslide with like some or something like that?
I think you're expecting a little too much from this film.
I know. She could still have done more than just walk around in it like a pig. Snow White's still showing concern for the dude that got left behind in the cave.
That poor little man. If only I could have helped him.
Ooh, he gave me the willies.
Sheesh, judgmental much? And what happened to your neck? You're like 45% head right now. But yet they made it to the land of doom. Nigel, turn that off. You're getting everybody's hopes up. Mouse, not wanting Snow White to lose her way, sends an escort to deal with the dwarf elves and drag her to the castle, Batso accidentally knocking Scowl out of his hiding spot.
Go!
But I'm pretty sure Mouse has forgotten the whole mishap earlier. You'll be fine.
Now there will be something to amuse me while I await Snow White.
The gang stopped for a night, coming into contact with local wildlife. And I kind of like this idea. Malice didn't just change the landscape. He also mutated the wildlife into something unrecognizable to the rules of nature, meaning Critterina has no power over the animals, and Blossom can't grow anything in the area because the fog just kills it outright. So that means two of them cannot use their powers here. And speaking of wildlife, Malice's Kennel Club shows up for dinner, prompting the group to run for the hills, Snow White being the most proactive of the bunch, throwing a torch to buy everybody time to get away. After a running animation that's recycled over and over, the group make it to a gorge, trapping themselves. Their only hope, getting yelled at by Muddy.
Oh no, the Shadow Man!
Dang, bro, how much time did you spend at the gym? And I kind of feel bad for Sunburn. She gets treated like a basketball all through the movie. They knock the tree trunk over, killing the wolves and angering Malice, triggering him to take on the responsibility himself again. Didn't he fumble this twice already? Third time's a charm, I guess.
What about me? Aren't you gonna... Hey! Lord Malice! Come back!
I could go for some chicken soup. While everybody's resting, the Shadow Man tries to flee into the fog, getting stopped by Snow White. The dude can't speak, so when she questions him, he can't answer why he's acting like a guardian. Snow White begs for him to join the group so they can travel to the castle together. But he bows out, ashamed of what he looks like, and runs away.
I know who it is.
Yeah, everybody above a second grade reading level knows who this is. Malice, seeing an opportunity, zaps Snow White, flies off toward the castle, angering the Shadow Man while the dwarf elves chase off after him. But back at the castle, Scowl, still hanging around, finally gets saved by Batso, but only after the best line in the movie is delivered.
Hey, Scowl, you really gotta quit smoking. It's gonna kill you.
I'm about to be Owl Stew, and he's worried about smoking.
Now on the way out, instead of going ahead and, leaving, Scowl and Batso see the dwarf elves at the gate demanding it be lowered. Scowl, being the moron that he is, still wants to get on Malice's good side for some reason. You got a clear way out. Why would you want to deal with Malice anymore? He almost, in your own words, turned you into Owl Stew. So why do this? But instead, who do they choose to try to kidnap?
I'm warning you! When I lose my temper, I really get carried away! Oh! Oh!
Okay, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. And it only gets funnier.
Let go of me, you little creep!
You mean him?
Okay, I enjoyed that segment. The group make it across, getting tangled up with the guards, proving the queen did not vet her guards properly. Wasn't there a two-headed guy too? In fact, wasn't there more than 6 guards at the beginning of the movie? Where'd the rest go? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Snow White awakens to a familiar face, but not a familiar personality.
My prince? Is it really you?
Who else would it be?
Yes, who else could it possibly be? The prince opens a passage leading Snow White out of the room, the group barely missing them, but thanks to a simple riddle from the looking glass, the group get back on track. The prince still pulling Snow White along toward a gazing platform at the back of the castle, lined with suspicious statues. And as it goes on, the prince is acting even more suspiciously.
What's wrong, my dear? Don't you trust your beloved prince?
Revealing a pedestal with Snow White's name on it, dropping the facade entirely.
You'll never see your prince again!
Malice tries to cover Snow White in a magic cloak just as the Shadow Man comes in and gives him a good smacking.
His name is John C.
They both struggle against Malice, but dude's playing for keeps.
Oh! It's stone! The cape turned it to stone!
Ah, so the cloak turns him into stone, huh? Oh, and check out that statue right there. Look familiar? So, in his off time, when he's not obsessing over Snow White, he's executing the Queen's Guard? That's pretty dark for a movie like this. I kind of like it. Malice getting an opportunity, grabs Snow White, heading toward the pedestal, but Shadow Man, he ain't giving up either. He makes one final attempt to save her, only to get an injustice fatality for his trouble.
You miserable wretch!
No! You killed him! You monster!
I was wondering where Superman got that idea from. After a slap or two, Malice has Snow White on the ropes. She's on the pedestal. She's about to get petrified, and finally the dwarf elves catch up and resort to playground tactics. Don't these people have powers? Muddy can control the earth. Sunburn can burn him. Moonbeam can put him to sleep, I think. And Marina, I don't know, she can do like water stuff. They got powers. Why are they doing this? And since they're not using their powers, the dwarf elves can be easily overcome and they get the Medusa treatment.
7 new statues I hadn't even counted on.
Count is key here, dude, because I only count 6. And there she is. Thunderella was able to get away. It's down to the wire. Snow White is about to be taken for granted. Thunderella is able to collect enough charge and give Malice a good jolt, only for Snow White to do her own fatality. With Malice dead, the Dwarf Elves return to normal, but the Shadow Man, on the other hand, he's still very much dead. Or is he? The Shadow Man was the prince the whole time. Anyone remotely paying attention saw this plot twist a mile away. But it does speak to the prince's character. Even disfigured by Malice and rendered unable to speak, he still charges forward to protect Snow White with everything he's got.
I'm still on the fence about something, though. I can't decide if it's cruel or foolish for Malice to release the prince back into the wild after doing that.
He probably just transformed him where he was and just left him.
But why didn't he just imprison him in the castle?
Now who's expecting a little too much out of this movie?
Fair point.
The gang celebrate their victory with Mother Nature, who is now able to pop in since the land was returned to nature. And while Snow White is praising the group, Sunburn lives up to her name and brings up a valid point.
Well, some of us were a little more helpful than others.
She isn't wrong. Marina and Moonbeam did nothing. Blossom flirted with a mirror and bit a finger, I think. Critterina pulled hair and tried to calm the wolves. Didn't work. All Muddy did was be a judgmental doof, with the exception of giving Malice a penitent stare. The only thing missing is her asking for the manager. I guess she tackled him, but Sunburn is right. She did the following: light the tunnel, trigger the cave that captured the Shadow Man, aka the Prince, get the gate open, beat one of the guards by herself, and protect Thunderella, the goat of the group, since she was the only one to get her powers to work. And Sunburn, she goes the extra mile and gives all the credit to Thunderella. Sunburn, you're my new favorite dwarf elf. If I had a favorite dwarf elf, I'll probably forget about these guys tomorrow. All this action convinces Mother Nature to cut them some slack and not pull their power.
I'm gonna stop you for a second.
Dude, we're almost done. What's up?
This will only take a second. But what did they do to that woman's face?
Yeah, I noticed that too. Her chin and nose, they could be used to skewer fish. I'm guessing at this point the budget was all but gone and they rushed through some of the art. It's obvious when you compare it to the previous scene too. Wrapping everything up, Scowl and Batso are taken in by Mother Nature as disciples. Snow White invites everybody to the wedding, and the movie ends with one of the most 80s, 90s songs I've heard in a while.
You can do magic with your own 2 hands. You can touch the clouds right where you stand.
And that was Happily Ever After, y'all. Not a bad movie, not a great movie. It's right there in between. It's got its fair share of problems. The artwork was clearly on an unstable budget because it kept changing throughout the production. At times it looks decent, like a really good TV-made movie. On others, it looks like it was a lost episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
I think the voice acting is done well. The standout being Malcolm McDowell as Malice. If it's one man who has mastered the art of evil menace in voice acting, it is Malcolm McDowell.
Do you know who I am? Typical.
We are prisoners of war! We have rights! You just violated the Stockholm Treaty!
Stockholm? What planet do you think you're on?
That's true, but one thing that bugs me is the promotional material for the movie claims it's a musical. A movie with a grand total of 4 songs. 2 really aren't songs as much as actors skip singing. The only real standout is the closing number performed by the actress played by Snow White, Irene Cara, who plays the closing song. If anything, the singing felt like padding to get this to feature length, especially that second one by Thunderella. Now the dwarf elves, they're okay. They're not as memorable as the dwarves from the Disney movies, especially the 2 that really don't do anything, Moonbeam and Marina. In fact, the movie could cut these 2 out and it wouldn't affect the story whatsoever. But I get what they were going for. There was an attempt to mirror the original story. So due to the original story having 7 dwarves, Happily Ever After needed to fill the roster with 2 more. So these 2 made the cut. Sad there just wasn't much for them to do in the movie. Out of the gate, is this worth watching? For young children and adults nostalgic for this decade of animation, it's a no-brainer. It's not the same old story rehashed for a quick buck. It tried to do something new instead of a lazy remake with no worthwhile changes.
You're lucky we had a DVD.
Why is that?
I've never heard of this company, so I doubt it's on a streaming service.
As of right now, it's streaming on Hulu.
Didn't Disney have an issue with this property existing in the first place? Why would they stream at one of their networks?
Funny you asked that. You see, Filmation had a bunch of projects in the tube. Most of these projects were sequels to famous stories like Bambi, The Time Machine, Frankenstein, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Sleeping Beauty, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. Even though these titles were based off of properties that were in the public domain, Disney still found loopholes to try to tie what Filmation was doing to copyright infringement and sued the company to the ground, forcing them to close their doors and L'Oreal to liquidate the property and sell it off to other companies.
So who owns this movie now?
Look on the back of the DVD.
It says Fox DVD. Wait a second. So if Fox bought Happily Ever After, that would mean...
That's right. When Disney bought Fox off over 10 years ago, the company that purchased Filmation property from L'Oreal 20 years ago, Disney also indirectly purchased the property they sued a small studio into oblivion over 30 years ago.
I'm not sure if I should laugh at the irony or weep for the death of creativity at the hands of corporate greed.
Just go ahead and laugh, because I doubt it's going to change anytime soon. So yeah, if you want to watch a different story with Snow White, go ahead and give it a go instead of watching this trash. Because after all...
It's Hollywood, baby.
Ugh, what an insufferable bitch.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up, and if you wish to follow the channel, subscribe and ring the bell.
Don't forget to punch the Patreon.
Oh yeah, that's right. If you wish to support the channel further, please check out our Patreon page. We only have 1 tier up at the moment. By signing up, we'll give you first look and voting power on future projects. If anything, it might help with Grouch's medical bills. Well, you have certainly looked better.
Your ability to state the obvious always astounds me, Nigel.
So what are we going to do next video, Grouch?
Same thing we do every video, Nigel. Try to take over YouTube.
Obviously. But what is the topic?
I want to do Turok Evolution, but next month is May. So that means Star Wars month, everybody.